All right, today I want to talk about Atari, the startup that invented an industry. I know this sounds crazy to say, and I don't think most people even know this story, but let's get into it. By the way, before I get started, make sure you like the video, subscribe to the channel. It's free, it costs you nothing. Let's get active. So the founders were Nolan Bushnell and Ted Dabney. These were two engineers who saw beyond the technical novelty of the games. Like you got to think, this is back before we had video games the way we have now. I really want y'all to understand. Like this is before everybody had a console or we had the handheld games. Like the games you see like this game right here, that was a game, right? Like I want you to really think about that. Those big ass arcade games you see when you go to the arcade, that's all it was. So if you wanted to play games, you had to go to the arcade. You couldn't just get up and grab your controller, turn it on. Like you couldn't do that. Like it's such a different time. I know it sounds crazy. Their goal was to make sure everybody could play their games whenever they wanted to. That was kind of their overall, for essentially have the world we have now. And that's kind of a crazy thing to think about, right? Like of somebody thinking, man, we have these massive games that we have to go to one place to play, but what if I could have this at home? Like that's a crazy way of thinking. And this was definitely a problem worth solving. So the at this point, the arcade gaming was non-existent, right? It wasn't like it was all out there in the world, and this is early 1970s. So again, this is the beginning of the of time of gaming. If you're a gamer, you should know this. If you're a founder, you got to know this because it's very important because their market opportunity was massive, right? In terms of the money they could make, right? I mean, look now how big the gaming industry is itself. I mean, come on, it's a massive market opportunity. Also, the cultural context was huge here, right? The idea that people would be able to pay to play electronic games seemed far fetched and it sounded crazy. Like investors hear that because, again, from an investor's perspective, you want me to give you 100,000, a half a million, $1 million to build this company so you can give everybody video games. That sounds like today, it's like, okay, I get it. But back then in early 1970s, that sounded insane. This is the $250,000 bet that changed everything. Don Valentine, one of the OGs of venture capital, shout out to him. He put in $250,000 in 1972, which would be almost $2 million today, to really transform Atari, right? Like that's what it did. And at that time, again, I told you the number, like 1.72 million around that for today's money. Bro, that quarter million changed everything. Now it's important to understand this because you need people like a Don Valentine to fuel the ideas of those kind of people, right? That are out there. One key thing I think founders can take away from this is that perspective of like connecting with the right VC. Because I don't think Atari would be what it is if they didn't have Don Valentine. And if you know Sequoia Capital, you know who Don Valentine is, obviously. So how did they spend their funding? Production, right? Manufacturing the game Pong. That's literally the game where it's like just one ball in the middle and you just have to like avoid it, going past your side. So you just go up and down. The most basic game ever, but like that's what they had. And that was like a good start. I appreciate that because I wouldn't be able to play Madden in the crib today if they didn't do this. So shout out to them. Distribution. This was huge. So for their distribution, they actually worked with the retail stores, right? I think it was Sears. They worked with Sears, and getting Sears to distribute is what took them to the moon. Because think about it, at this time in the 1970s, online shopping didn't exist. We got to remember that. When we think back to these projects and these companies 50, 60 years ago, they didn't have the advantages that we have. If you were making a game today, you could just make the game, put up on a website, some clips, go viral, and then you can blow up. Back then, they had to be really, really strategic. So having Sears distribute for them and work with them on that level was a game changer. And then R&D, developing the next generation of games beyond Pong. So it wasn't just that one. Because again, if you don't know Pong, it's very basic. It's literally just the ball in the middle and you just slide. It's like a Google game. You know how they got the dinosaur when your internet not working? It's something like that. That's just very, very basic. So after a while, you would obviously get bored of that. So man, they put in some work, man. They had to put in some work. So some of the obstacles they faced were production and manufacturing. Because you're taking this big thing and then making it into a really small version that people can take home and use. So it's going to take some time to figure that out. Um, I think another part of that is there wasn't an existing market. And this is something I think a lot of founders are running into today with the AI shifts, because now you're in a place where you have to build something and there's no roadmap. There's no trailblazer. You are the trailblazer. And if you're the trailblazer and you're the one that's laying the path for everybody, you got to figure out a lot. Like, it's going to be a lot of walls you run into that you didn't even know was there, right? Also, they had limited capital. That 250,000 was good, but they needed even more money to really, really build. So their breakthrough was they made games fun and addictive, not just technical demonstrations. I think that's the key to a company like this, man. This Bushnell's famous philosophy. I have to read this. This is one of my favorite quotes that I found in my research. Easy to learn, difficult to master became the guiding principle that would define not just Atari, but the entire gaming industry for decades. If you think about that movie, what it is, Ready Player One, that was kind of the theme of that entire movie, of like, you're supposed to have fun, master the game, like try to play and try to master it, try to be the best, but just have fun while you're doing it. When they broke it down to having fun, that's when the company became even more profitable. So in this phase, they created a $3.2 billion market. That's insane. To make a market that's billions of dollars is impressive. That is impressive, man. 38,000 employees. That was a peak of their workforce at Atari. And it ended up selling in 1976 for $28 million, which today is probably 3, 4 times that, which is just, I mean, that's just massive. So what are founder takeaways? Number one, you got to solve human problems. I think solving the problem of having fun is a human problem. That, I know that sounds crazy. We all think about B2B and it has to be this thing that helps this company do this thing. Sometimes it's just about helping people have fun. That's it. That's it. It don't have to be deeper than that. It does not have to be deeper than that. Showing market appeal, right? The Pong machine was very basic, but it was that thing that got people's interest. It caught their attention because it was a game, it was different, and it was fun. That was the goal, right? And then simplicity. I think Pong being so simple and then people being able to learn it so easily is like a perfect thing. You don't have to make it too complex in the beginning. All right. I think sometimes founders try to go to the hardest, highest level, and I don't think that's necessary. So the first Atari arcade sold for $1,200, which is around 7,000 today. 7 bands. Ooh. Atari's 1980 revenue was $415 million, bigger than Apple. So that just shows you like what Atari has been, bro. Like, it's not a super popular company now. I know most people are probably hearing about this for the first time, but yo, parents and grandparents, they know what Atari is. I can guarantee you that for sure. Um, the name Atari comes from a Japanese game, Go. Hmm. So Atari showed founders and VCs how to build a category-defining company. I think a reason why I wanted to cover this company is because that's probably the thing I learned the most from this research. Is like, before Atari, we didn't really have gaming like that. We didn't have gaming. And I think we're in a place now in the world where some founder out there has some idea to make something that can be like this. They can build a new category in the world that we aren't even thinking of right now. Like, the closest thing I can think of is kind of like the meta glasses where you like had a camera on them. But I think we're still a ways away with that. Just some idea like that, right? The game industry Atari pioneered now generates $200 billion annually. Like, come on. It's absurd. It's next level. So, yeah, man, I'm thankful for Atari because, again, I'm not a super gamer, but I'm into it a little bit here and there. And I have been throughout my life. Most guys are gamers at some level. But Thank you guys for tuning in. If you did learn something, let me know down in the comments below. Make sure you subscribe to the channel. I'm Chris. I will see you next time.